So guys, in this video, I'm going to share with you how I made my first $20,000 in profit in 30 days selling life insurance. As we approach 2025, I want to reflect on my journey, how selling life insurance has changed my life. I want to share with you guys three things that I did, the three things that I struggled with that allowed me to earn over $20,000 in profit. Now, before we jump in, I just want to give you guys the real evidence. When I was in this business, it did not start like that, but I'm going to share with you guys here first in November, cash flow tracking. Made $21,819 selling final expense life insurance. There was many parts in this business that I was broken. There's many parts in this business that I know what to do, and I just want to share with you guys this video and in this channel what worked for me so that you can win, that you can succeed and provide for your family. Now, I want to share with you guys the three things that I did. The first thing that really allowed this breakthrough, I'm going to highlight this here, is number one is I didn't get caught up in the fluff. Now, let me share with you guys some real evidence really quick here. So in July was my second month in the business. You can see here my first 7 months in the business, I sold $271,234 in issue paid premiums. Okay, but I did not make $271,000. I did not ball out. But yet it looked like I was balling out because I got caught up in the fluff. And in July, I did 43,000 in premium. August, I did 54,000. September, I did 52,000. October, you can see here, I did 46,000. But I made the most amount of profit, actual money, to keep in my bank account in November when I only did $31,000 of premium. And the reason is because I didn't get caught up in the fluff. In the early times of my business, when I first got started, number one, I didn't see through the BS. I didn't see through the smoke and the mirrors. And this is what people don't talk about. And that's why I want to make this, is because in the beginning, I got started. I quit my job. I was all in. I was, making $10,000 plus a month, selling high ticket tree removal. And I made a few sales. And, my upline was like, dude, just jump out, go all in and build this business. But in the beginning, it was hard. I lost $20,000 or more in my first 30 to 45 days. I was just selling business the wrong way, and I didn't have a mentor that would actually guide me. So on paper, when I was showing you, it was looking like I was doing well, 43,000, 54,000, but I wasn't writing good business. And I want to share with you the importance of this. The business here to change your life is to make sure that you are selling good business. When it comes to final expense, and that's all I focused on, is I was just selling anyone and anyone. And it didn't matter. But my upline just said, keep selling, keep selling, keep selling. And I didn't know what chargeback was. So every day I'd open up my computer and I'd see $3,000 of chargebacks, $5,000 of chargebacks. I'm like, what the heck does this even mean? And eventually, after 3-4 months in the business, I realized that I'm not actually trying to make money. I'm just trying to post to make sales, to be on the leaderboard. And in that month of October, I had that realization that, hey, I need to change my life or I'm going to lose a lot of money. I'm not going to hit my goals or I need to get out of the industry. So in October, I put the pedal to the metal. I changed my behavior. I started selling good business. I started actually trying to help people the right way. I actually started to find good lead vendors that would actually help me find good clients. I would do whatever it took. I'd even show up to people's houses, but I would just stay plugged in and do whatever it took because I had to stop listening to people. There was a story that I want to share with you is that in these months, I was doing pretty well, but I wasn't making money. My bank account really wasn't growing. And I remember there was this person who sold their business for multiple millions of dollars, and they were on a Zoom call with hundreds of agents because I was inside of an MLM company. And it was him and their spouse, and they were this really successful couple. And I just asked them, I'm like, hey guys, I'm buying the leads that you're telling me to buy. These are 3-month-old leads. These are the leads that everyone tells you to buy. I'm buying them. I'm selling them, but the clients are terrible. Like they don't even have $30 to their name. And I asked them point blank, I said, if you had to build a business, if you had to provide for your family, and this is the only lead source that you would ever use, would you continue to use this lead source? Meanwhile, I've caught on knowing that this is not a good lead source. This lead source is absolutely junk. And they both, without a doubt, in front of everyone, paused and said, absolutely. And at that moment, I knew that the industry was broken, that people are being lied to, and I have to do things my own way. So I stopped listening to people that were not at the place that I wanted to be, which did not have the results because I didn't have a mentor. I had to figure this out. And you can see after figuring it out, I'm going to share with you guys a story of like, man, I was just sitting there grinding it out every single day. I went 12 months without ever recruiting anybody inside of Legacy Family Law. I went 12 months with just trying to figure this out about myself. These late days, these late nights, like I don't want people to forget that I had to do that to be where I am today. and just grinding, me versus me, every single day, doing whatever it took to win. Because at point number two is that I didn't want to be fancy anymore. To get to the 20,000s, I was just trying to be fancy. I was trying to be sexy. I was trying to do what everyone else was telling me. But I figured, enough of that. Dude, it's time to actually buckle down and do the work. What I want to share with you is that November mark, the $21,000, was like a moment in my life where I was like, okay, all my months and months and months of hard works, mistakes are finally working. Like, all I did was this. I only focused on sales, okay? Because people were telling me, get some leads, figure out marketing, figure out how to recruit. And I was taking advice from everyone that was not helping me make money. So I was like, screw this. I'm only going to focus on sales. I'm going to do no marketing. I'm going to pay a guy who's going to do my marketing. I'm going to do no recruiting. I'm not going to spend 2 hours recruiting like they tell me to do. I'm not going to call customer service problems. I am not going to do any of that. I am just going to call my leads. I'm going to wake up and call my leads every single day. When I'm at lunch, I'm going to call my leads. When I have 5 minutes to take a quick little call, I'm going to go ahead and do that. But all I did is I focused on leads. It was not sexy. And what happened there is that every single day my focus was on growing my bank account. So every single day I remember waking up, going downstairs, having my coffee, doing my quick little journal, and I'd write down how much money I had in my bank account. And when I started to focus on my bank account, what I started to realize is that I actually started to make more money. Because then instead of me focusing on my recruits or focusing on, how many leads I'm getting or what type of marketing system. And this is the time where a few months earlier, I spent over $7,000 for a marketing course that I just stopped doing because it was wasting my time. I was spending 3 or 4 hours a day not doing sales, not doing income producing activities. And I was like, this is probably why I'm not making money. Duh, because I am not focusing on selling. And there came to a point I was like, man, I just got to focus. So I focused on my bank account growing. And then ultimately in that part of building focus on my bank account, I started to do more of what was working. So I decided to start building a reliable system. And I'll share with you guys the system here because I'll share with you what worked and how it worked. But ultimately, as I just focused on doing the boring work, competition drove me. I was part of a team where there's other people that were competing against me. And I was never the type of individual that wanted or let other people win. Okay. I would do whatever it took to be the number one guy on the leaderboard every single month. I would stay late. I would show up early. I would show up on Sundays and I would do whatever it took because my ego needed to be stroked. And ultimately, that's who I was. I was not letting another agent beat me. And that competition drove me. There was nobody that was going to beat me. There was nobody that was going to show up early. There was nobody that was going to come in late. There was nobody that was going to do more dials than me. Whatever I had to do, I was willing to make sacrifices. And through those sacrifices, it compounded. I started to build these behaviors. I started to build the grit, the muscle of like, no one can beat me. I've learned this sales skill. I've mastered sales. I sold hundreds of thousands of dollars before then. All I have to do is build a better system. And secondly, I need to outwork everyone the right way. And that competition really fueled me to want to win. And most importantly, what I don't talk about, what a lot of people don't talk about here when it comes to building this business or getting to $20,000 is the truth of like how I lived. For 4 months of not making money, really, struggling, losing money, figuring this thing out, I lived poor. Like I did not do anything. I had a girlfriend at the time. We went to one dinner a month. I lived poor. I didn't buy anything. I didn't go into buy anything. When I was making some money, I lived poor. I reinvested it back into more leads, more learning, more opportunity. I didn't take the money and flex it and like go to Miami, take time off. No, I actually canceled on vacations. I didn't go to vacations. I didn't show up to things on Saturdays. I didn't, spend the night, doing things and not being able to work on Saturdays. No, I had to make the sacrifices. I literally put here, I had no life. Remember this one time in my journey, it was like 8 o'clock at night. My brother, we lived together, and he comes home from work 8 o'clock. I'm like, man, I'm just finished up my day. And he comes home and he gives me actually these AirPods that are sitting in front of me right now, with my name on them. He gives me these AirPods. He's like, hey man, because I was dialing from my cell phone and I was also dialing just off of a computer through the computer speaker. I didn't invest in anything fancy. I was just doing the work. He gives me these AirPods and he says, man, this is a gift for you. I hope you can use these. And I use it. And I remember sitting on the living room hardwood floor with my stomach on the ground, dialing West Coast leads to 10 o'clock at night with my new cool AirPods. And I remember sitting there like, no, like, hey, I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I'm going to find a way. I'm going to do whatever it takes. And those AirPods remind me like, hey, despite not having the resources, despite being humble, you're the type of dude that's going to figure this thing out. And that's what I did. I didn't have money, even though I was making. I didn't invest. I didn't even spend a second thinking like, oh yeah, maybe get $100 new set of headphones. No, it's like $100 is going back in the business to allow me to do this. $100 back into training. $100 back into a course that I could buy or develop. And that's all I did is reinvest. And I didn't do anything fancy. I just stuck to the guns and did the boring work. And last thing I want to share with you is fancy is this, like, this one behavior change. I promise you, like, absolutely changed my life. I'm going to give this to you. Okay, I focus on this concept like my life depended on it. And I promise, if you're a life insurance agent and if you've never heard of this before, this was a breakthrough of mine. Every single day, I'd make sure I made a deal by noon. November, my 20, like, this was the one thing I woke up. I don't care what I did. I wake up, have my little, like, go to my bank account, write that down, and go to work. 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I'm doing whatever it takes to make a sale by noon, because I would shrink my time frames. I would do whatever it took to make a sale by 12 o'clock, because if I made a sale by 12 o'clock, I knew that I could do 2, 3, 4, 5 by the end of the day. But that one sale allowed me to just be like, I can breathe. You can do this, and you can win today. But until I made that first sale, I ran like someone was like just after me, chasing me. And I was hunting all day, calling, not taking breakfast, calling, not getting up, calling, not going to the bathroom. I had to make a sale by 12 o'clock like my life depended on it. And weirdly enough, every single day I'd wake up with this belief that I'm going to fail today and that I don't know what I'm doing, yet I sold hundreds of thousands of dollars. I had this inferior complex, like I can't do this. But I would prove to myself every single day, Peter, you can, and that was by the deal by noon. Now, there's a 4-step process in regards to a reliable system here that I put in my notes. The system looked like this, and if you can do this, build this in your business, I promise you can do it. I used to buy leads. I used to, go to every vendor. I was great at vendors, but the system that really allowed me to profit the most was generating leads on the internet. Facebook at the time, the platforms have changed a ton. I was generating $8 leads or $3 leads. I would get 18 to 20 leads per day, making sure I had ample lead flow. I would then use Zapier to connect them into a CRM. I used Ringy at the time. Don't use that anymore, but I just used the cheapest CRM. I would literally just zap it in. I didn't even know how to use Zapier, but Zapier connects your leads in. I would then get the leads. I paid a guy to teach me how to do this. He actually put this into my Facebook account because I didn't have the time or didn't want to invest in it. I was like, hey, dude, just generate me leads. I'll pay you a retainer. And then he zapped them into my CRM, and then I would close them. And then you could see here, I would spend, $300-$400 every 4 to 5 days. And then ultimately, again, I lived poor. I would make the money, reinvest it back into leads, and continue to live poor. I didn't live above my means. And that was really the system I used. It was not fancy. It was not sexy. It was call leads. And ultimately, too, I'd call them on my CRM, but I'd also call them on my cell phone. I used to hand dial. When my brother gave me those AirPods, I would literally sit and hand dial. And I would do 2 things. I would hand dial and then pair them with my CRM, because if they weren't answering the phone off the CRM, I'd hit them with my cell phone, because then my cell phone would have my caller ID, and I'd be like, man, these people are picking up more. So I'd actually lean more towards my cell phone. Now, third thing I want to share with you, just more about the story, is that despite making the $20,000, there was times where it was lonely. There was lonely chapters in this beginning, and there was no backup plan. I developed what's called a find a way mentality. And right now, if you're struggling to make money in the industry, are you actually all in? I burned the boats. I remember sitting down with my business partner who I sold my company to. I was selling tree removal, making 10 plus grand a month, doing great, having stability. It was good. But I remember sitting him at dinner. I'm like, hey, man, I'm leaving. It was the hardest conversation ever. And I knew I couldn't go back. And there were so many times I'd be like, man, just throw the towel in. Just go back, make 10 grand a month, and go work for someone else. Give up on your dreams. And despite the challenges, I still found so much joy helping people. I found so much pleasure in just getting to serve people. And ultimately, through the difficult times, what kept me going was the reward of that I could help someone. And Miss Betty and Mr. Rodney were one of my first clients. I went to their house, and I just had to make a sale. They didn't give me the banking information, so I got in my car. I pulled up to their very interesting house, and ultimately was able to sell them a life insurance policy. But I did whatever it took, because there was no way I wasn't going to find a way. There was no way I was not going to hit my goals. There was no way that I was going back to work. There was no way that I was going to, give up. So if I need to go to your house, I'm going to do it. If I need to meet you at a Denny's, I did that with Miss Bonita. If I needed to meet you somewhere, I would do it. And I ask you this question: are you doing literally whatever it takes? Are you finding a way? Is your focus on doing, I have to make this to help. I have to make this count. I have to find a way. And that mentality continued to develop in my mindset that allowed me to get to a place where I make $20,000. You don't just wake up and make $20,000. And as I was going through and building this out, reflecting on my year and reflecting on kind of how far I've come, like there was a point in this business where I didn't know what I was doing. Listen to this. One of my first ever sales. After 2 hours of failing and not knowing how to submit a term product, the deal was done. Thanks for down for the live help. Meeting with his wife on Monday for the sale. 2 hours. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would just find a way, be scrappy, ask for help. Please, I need someone. Can someone jump in? And just talk my way through these processes because I had to close deals. And there was no like, hey, throw in the towel. So I started where you might have started. This is my first ever sale at 5:56 at night, 57. Family was protected because my behaviors were shaped from what I've done at a young age. Okay. You can see here, after a long, sweaty day, I was on mowers mowing grass in the heat. I've developed the grit long-term of wanting personal development, of going to the gym, of working hard and serving people. And through this process of development, I spent many months, many years not knowing how to make $5,000, many months not knowing how to make $3,000 on my own. But it came from this rapid fire defeat of failing and getting back up. One day we're going to die. It's all not going to matter. But ultimately, did you give up? And that was my story. In 2025, I want to grow. I want to get better. And I realize there's more room for improvement. That's exactly how I learned how to make my first $20,000 profit selling life insurance, and also make my first six figures my first year as a life insurance agent. I love you guys. I just want you to win. I have nothing to sell you, and I hope this helps you crush 2025. Have the best year of your life. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.